Okay. Facebook says we're live, Simon. Should we do this again?
Um, Hang on, I'm just doing some personal admin. Hang
Oh,
on.
excellent. Yeah, no worries. Take your time.
Sorry, is it a good time? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
go
yeah,
on
yeah.
then.
You do you until we're. It's not like anyone's waiting for us.
Morning.
Hello again. This is exciting.
It's very exciting. I got messages all over my screen. I don't know what's going on. Which button do I press?
Don't press
Okay.
any buttons because the chances of us doing something wrong is very high.
Jack, why have you got a spaceman coming out of your head?
Well, I'm reporting live from the Rebel School in London in our podcast studio. We have all this fantastic podcast kit around me, so I've decided to plug in my £20 Amazon microphone. Um, But we're here. We're back. We decided we're going to do it again. We seem to got good feedback from the last one, which that
Amazingly,
hasn't happened on many of our mini experiments.
Jack, that was me that wrote all the feedback, just
Oh
to say.
no! Oh no! Oh, we'll do it all over again. But yeah, it's been a whole month since episode one. And I think we've suffered from that weird bit where January this year took 6 years, and February has taken 4 days. Um, So yeah, it's been an entire month. Whether these continue on a monthly basis or more regularly or whatever that looks like, but I'm happy. A lot has happened in the past month, Simon, for us to talk about.
I don't really know where to begin. I think I've forgotten more than I remember, but then you're used to that. Um, and yeah, I think we've both aged about 6 years. Um,
It's just a
You
normal
look at
start to the year.
least 23 now, and I look at least, yeah, anyway, what's the first bit that we're talking about?
Well, some would say that you still have the same cough from a month ago.
Well, it does seem that way to many people, not least me. Yeah, I'm still surrounded by, I got tissues, I
Oh,
got like
brilliant.
all sorts of stuff. As you can hear, my voice is a little bit croaky. And I think I'm going to last about 15 minutes before I won't be able to talk. I haven't mentioned that to you, but I trust you. I love you. I believe in you. And I think whatever happens, you're going to be okay.
I feel like, do I need to say that about you?
Yeah, that's a good time for an Uno reverse. That's the kind of pep talk I need this morning. Yeah, I went
Excellent.
into full-blown chest infection. Well, actually, let's make this all about me and my health.
Brilliant.
I had a full-blown chest infection, Jack. Full-blown is code for I was very poorly. And but this episode is powered by Benylin, Boots Home Tissues, Jakeman's Throat Sweets, and antibiotics. So we're good. What can go wrong?
Fantastic. What? Don't say that. We are 3 minutes in. You
Jack, I don't
cannot
even
say
know
that
my
now.
own name anymore. I haven't felt this inebriated since lockdown, and I've not even had any alcohol this morning.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yet.
Go back and watch the lockdown live streams.
Let's not.
But we are live. If you are watching this in the Facebook group, please leave us some comments. We would love to answer your questions as we keep going. But yeah, it has been an exciting month in the world of Rebel. We've been back running a mixture of online and in-person events. We are on the final day of free courses across Westminster, Camden, and Dartford. Simon, I've heard rumours we may even be being beamed live into some of those courses. So, hi.
Wait, that means big screen territory.
Oh no,
Hello, everybody in Dartford, in Camden, and in Westminster. They're not in the 470 building today, no?
no. I hope
Got
I'm
like
here.
80
I hope
people
not.
waiting downstairs for you.
Oh, that's who they were. No, no, they are all over the London today. Um, just Ashley and Laura are watching. Hello, everyone. Why is everyone not there early to watch us?
Yeah, heads will roll.
But yeah, it's been a really, really kind of exciting month. I think Henry told me last night we had 180 new businesses come through just those three events alone.
That's wild.
And I know we've been running a lot of kind of online courses in the beginning of the month as well. So it's yeah, we're in full steam ahead as it were. Um, Simon, what's been going on in your world? I know you've ran a couple of days of the courses as well.
Yeah, I had an amazing day last week with the Westminster course. It was supposed to be more, but I was just too ill to attend, Jack. But yeah,
They
we had a
won't see you on
fantastic
Facebook.
time. We did some storytelling last week, and part of that was about helping people not to be trapped by their own story or other people's stories, as well as understanding and making sense of our own story, which bits we want to tell, and how to tell that for engagement. And one of the things that I shared as part of that was the fact that my business partner complained about my boss. That was basically the genesis of this business. He wrote a 3-page handwritten letter of complaint and handed it to um, the person responsible for buying business support on behalf of the UK government, who was a guy called Glenn Atherfold, who had to move to Scotland as a result of Alan's letter. Um, I think by choice, actually. And then my boss sent me to deal with his complaint. And I walked into Starbucks in Winchester, and Alan looked at me in a very Alan way and went, "What can I do to help you?" I thought to myself, I don't need any help. You're the one that wrote a 3-page handwritten letter of complaint, pal. You're the one who needs the help, not me. And we made friends, and that was the start of uh, literally in Starbucks Winchester in about 2009. That was the start of this business. So so we were helping people figure out what their starting stories are, what their catalyst stories are, which is another interesting one. But also, especially in the early stages of business, we tend to, a little bit like I'm doing now, we tend to talk too much. When someone says, Jack, you will get a word in, I promise. It just might be episode 3.
Good to know.
Um, but you asked the question, I'm on a roll. Sue me. Don't sue me.
I'm
Um,
not. Yeah.
we tend to talk too much. And I had this amazing woman come up to me last Wednesday. It wasn't Wednesday, it was Thursday. Not that that matters. But she came up to me and she said, I don't know how to tell my story because there's too many bits to it. And we tend to talk a little bit too much. So if nothing else happened from watching this, get really succinct and smart with telling your story, because the less that you pack into it, the more room there is for storytelling devices.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is things like humor, suspense, surprise, bringing to life a character that's part of that story. Maybe that character's you, maybe that character's your customer. I remember sitting in Indianapolis in a course, we had a cake maker. And I said to her, so tell me about your cake making business. And she said, well, my daughter went to a children's party and she nearly died because she had an allergy that we didn't know that she had. And that inspired me to learn allergy-free cooking. And then I thought, I'll turn that into a business because there must be other kids out there that parents don't know are suffering. So a whole reason for starting a business was her story about sitting in A&E department, worried about the life of her child. I mean, she sold a lot of cakes that day. Do you know what I mean? It was such a compelling story. So understanding your story, which bits you want to tell, sticking it in some sort of order, and leaving space for some surprise and so on. Um, and yeah, so Angel came up to me last week. She said, I don't know about my story. I don't know how to tell it. She's a fantastic woman. Honestly, she's so inspiring. She's a humanitarian. That was the first words that came out of her mouth. She said, I'm a humanitarian. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? She said, well, I run a refugee project in Uganda and I run one in London too, helping refugees to get nutritious food. Um, and then she told me her story about growing up in war-torn Sudan and how that impacted her family. And then she told me her name was Angel. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't think I can cope with this. And I've not been back since. But power of story, Jack, the power of story, everybody. Write your story down and tell it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simon has new content. No, that is super, super exciting. I think we'll definitely touch on storytelling. I think later on today. I know that um I was at the Camden program yesterday and we were running a very similar session and getting everyone to write down and kind of break apart and analyze their own stories for the power of their businesses. And there were some fantastic. Everyone was. It was one of those like events where like people get up, tell their stories. 20 minutes later, there's crying, there's hugging, it was a really, really nice experience. And that's the secret weapon. If you can truly kind of distill that, that's why people will buy from you than kind of those other big companies out there.
Yeah, exactly that. It's about emotional connection. Like you might have the best product in the world, but if I don't feel anything, I'm not buying it. I need an emotion to attach to this to feel really compelled to get involved. And one of the best storytellers that I know is you, Jack.
Oh,
How was your week?
it was good. I've been bouncing around London this week, either in our courses, getting ready for the next ones. Got some great ideas about the brand and I don't really know. It's that kind of like end of the month, end of the course bit where I don't know where I am. I've shut all the windows and blinds in this room. I don't really know what time it is, but I'm very excited to look at my notes and attempt to figure out what's just happened.
I'm excited for that, Jack.
But in the meantime, people have actually left questions for us, Simon. So we might
Well,
we might jump into some of those. If people have questions live, please put them in the comments below, and we will get to them over the course of the next hour and a bit.
how
Uh,
exciting.
but fantastic. But we got excited. You asked for questions as well, Simon. You also made the mistake of asking for more cough remedies, and I think we again had more of those than we did questions. So I think our group has turned into something completely different. But thank you for either of those.
Rebels versus Health. Tune in for our sister show where we talk about remedies for things.
Well, you're not going to be the host. You've got a cough.
I'm not a very good advert for it.
No. Um,
Shut up.
yes, that's a good thing to start on this podcast. But we will start. I've got these written down in my very scruffy handwriting that even I'm struggling to read at this time in the morning. We're going to go in strong, Simon. I hope you're ready. I hope your
God.
brain and your vocal cords are ready. Sadie, who runs the Mabel and Pearl Tea Company in the USA,
Woo.
which is a great reminder. Hello, we're worldwide. Very exciting.
Mabel,
Has
baby.
asked, how do they, in their tea company, how do we effectively increase their sales in order to do more than just replenish the funds and have money to set aside? So essentially, like what would be the advice that jumps to your head in terms of growing sales that you can do more than just cover the costs? How do you make a profit and even pay yourself? What a treat.
Yeah, imagine that. Um, okay, so my head goes to a few places. Um, the first place is something about, well, I guess the first place is the classic upsell and cross sell. Um, I think, incentivizing customers that you've already got with deals to encourage them to spend more money. So the upsell being, okay, instead of buying one box, you buy three boxes, but you get 50% off the third box or something like that. That's the first, like the obvious place to go. And the reason for that, and this is for everybody watching, is that 20% of your customers already want to spend more money with you. You just haven't given them an opportunity yet. Okay, so that's my first thought for Sadie and the tea company in America. That's super cool. Is can you increase the transaction value and a rule of thumb, 20% of your customers will already want to spend more money with you. And I learned that about 15 years ago and it blew my mind and it's absolutely true. And by the way, after this call, should we jump on a call with the sales team and remind them of that? Because
Yes.
as ever with our content, I'm like, oh God, we should be doing that again, shouldn't we? So
Yeah.
so that's first thought, upsell. Second thought, cross sell. Okay, so that is if I'm buying tea, what else goes with tea? Can I
Hmm.
be selling people mugs, for example? Can I be selling them sets, gift sets? Can I be selling them gift vouchers? Can I be selling them? Oh, yes. I like the miming that you were doing there. And I'm
I
thinking,
didn't want to interrupt.
what's he doing? Like dipping something in his imaginary. Oh, biscuits. Yeah, biscuits. So, Jack, you can communicate for this show through the art of mime. Is this because you can't get a word in again? You ask me a question and off I go. Um, uh, what was the thing? Oh yeah, tea. Yeah, I guess like what goes well with it again is an opportunity to increase the transaction value of the customers that you've already got. All right. And it does very much depend on what the challenges that Sadie's facing, because it might be that she's just not got enough customers yet.
Mm,
In that case, there's a push to go and win more business. But essentially, if you want a business to be more profitable, you've got to sell more, you've got to charge more, or you've got to spend less. Those are the three bits. And it's like for most of us on here, we're bootstrapping our businesses. And if you're not, then why not? So we've already got the spend less bit covered. So it's essentially, have I got my price right? Could I be charging more? And if I think I have got my price right and I'm not undercharging, which by the way
mm,
is a big issue for small, especially new businesses. If I've got my pricing right, then I need to increase the transaction value and I need to get more customers. It's a combination of those
mm,
two things. So if you want to be more profitable, you upsell and you cross sell. You find products or services that go with your thing. And it might be, Sadie, that's about getting creative. So it might be that you can, for example, run an event in partnership with a charity, with a business, um, with an organization that's local to you, and run a tea tasting event. And then you've got a bunch of customers that are going to be in the room that you can sign up,
mm,
15, 20 people, and encourage them with an introductory offer. So you can grab their details, grab a small transaction value off of them to get them in the system. And then you spend the rest of the year promoting your products and services to them. So it's about filling the funnel. And then once you've got your people in your funnel, upselling and cross-selling, another little idea for you other than events is the customers that you already have. I think one of the things that brands, I'm just thinking of a brand in the UK. I'm not sure if they're in the USA. It's a brand in the UK called HelloFresh. And
yeah,
HelloFresh
yeah.
grew exponentially from their ability to leverage their existing customer base to spread the word. And not only were they obviously very proud of their product and so on, the reason they were able to exponentially grow is that they gave an outrageous offer for a first customer sign up, and
I
people were
fell for it.
sharing these. So, did you fall for that one?
Yeah, I say like that's a negative thing. Great food, but yeah, you got it was something like your first couple of boxes for free, and the next ones after that was 70% off. But then obviously that gradually, the more you
Yeah,
get used to it, becomes full
yeah.
price.
And then you're hooked on HelloFresh, and then you've got cupboards full of food that you're not actually
Yeah.
eating.
Oh, look, another sachet of creme fraiche. The comments are saying very similar things. Shelley in the comments are saying a membership, loyalty card, similar
Yes,
to your point
Shelley.
you just mentioned, like an afternoon tea community event or community chats, getting people together. I think my head went to kind of a build on your upsell and cross sell. Um, we talk about quite a lot is that once you've got it, it's cheaper to keep customers coming back uh, than it is to find new ones. So once you've got them in, like getting them in and buying rather than a set of tea, they could buy a box of mixtures and then they get into a monthly subscription. Then they can come in and they can make their own tea, make their own custom blend, and you kind of can build in that and that. And then there's gift bags and, like you said, biscuit sets and with teacups and everything else. There's more and more you can go to keep them coming back regularly, whether that's through subscriptions or something else.
Sign me up. I
Um,
need tea.
yeah, I'm now thirsty. I hope everyone else has got tea at home. Some more updates from the comments. It seems we are being beamed live, definitely across Dartford and Camden. We're watching us on a giant screen. I do apologise for the giant screen, but morning, everyone. Hello. Um, We've got some other questions in here. Nadia's happy to see us. Simon, people are here. People are watching. People
Love
seem to
it.
be engaging in tea content. Can I
I
give
showed
you
my
another
Kerry
question?
Hive.
Part two to Sadie's question.
Oh, go on then.
Um, she has asked, and in addition to that, how in their tea business as well, are they able to set their wholesale prices that benefits both them and the partners that they work with? And I think it's kind of a continuation really on the price. That's the beginning of the process. Once you know internally what you're buying the tea for it, then everything else rolls into motion. But you want to make sure that you're starting in a good stead, and that really comes down to knowing your numbers really.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a bit of that. I think there's a bit about knowing the market, because if you understand what the market is, then it puts you in a stronger position to be able to negotiate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So if I'm setting a wholesale price for something, I need to know, I need to benchmark, like, what's the cheapest tea on the market? What's the most expensive tea on the market, wholesale prices? And how does mine compare in terms of, is it more at the luxury end, or is it less of a luxury item and more of an
Mm,
everyday tea, or is it somewhere in the middle? The classic things of, for wholesale prices are scaling the price per, basically the price per cup based on what's the volume, when I'm going to expect a discount the more that I buy. And, locking people into uh, the monthly subscription is a way that, you can exchange a little bit of the profit that you get for getting people on a subscription basis, because on the first of every month you wake up and you've already made money. You haven't done anything yet. They've already committed. So I would incentivize customers to do that. I would also incentivize customers to sort of a sliding scale of volume. But I need to know where my product sits so I can benchmark my price against others. And I did a piece of work years ago for a company that was selling products into supermarkets. And what they learned was that the margins in supermarkets are so tight, and supermarkets were very aggressively attacking the price. So they always want more for less.
mm,
Just ask any farmer, right? So what they were doing was they were saying, well, we cannot drop the price of this anymore, but we're getting pressure from our buyers who want us to drop the price. So what do we do? Well, actually, what you do is you find ways to develop an experience, for example, around your tea. So I can't drop the price anymore, but I will come in and do a demonstration. For example, I'll run a tea event in your building, but I can't change the price. So what you're doing is, the question for everybody here is, how can I add more value to my customers? What are my customers' biggest problems, and how can I help solve them? So, for example, if you're selling tea wholesale, Sadie, then there's a good chance that you're selling it to retailers, right? So what can you do to help that retailer get more footfall? We'll run an event together. So it
mm.
might be there's other things that you can do outside of pricing to add value and help your customers solve your problems. And then you can stay strong on your price. You say, yeah, that my price is my price, but that's because I do this and this and this, and I do some stuff on social media about you too. There's other things that you can do to add value so that it goes beyond just a financial transaction, that you're compelling your customers to actually want to stay connected with you. That was quite a good answer, Jack, wasn't it?
Surprisingly good. I hope
I
someone
need
will
to go and
take
have
it.
a I need to go and have a lay down. I put it down to this guy. I've just got this guy next to me on the desk. So yeah, I'm channeling some
Things I
Eastern
weren't
wisdom.
expecting to see this morning. I
I
don't
think I
have
just saw a
anything.
little bit of you die on the inside when I did that.
That's all I've got. That's all I've got. Um, but
Quick
yeah,
mute for a cough.
Sadie, I hope that helped. I imagine you might be watching this on replay, being in the USA, but we'll make sure that you see this. We'll
What you
tag
mean?
you in the
Sadie's
comments.
not up at 3 in the morning watching us,
Sadie,
Jack?
wake up!
End the show. End the show.
um, Another question we've got coming through, friend of Rebel Cassandra.
Sandra.
Cassandra has asked, and this is quite an interesting question. I think we can go in quite a few different directions with this one.
Oh,
Uh, a question that Cassandra is often asked by parents of young business owners. This is a question of a question. Uh, their children lack the discipline of the less glamorous side of running a business. How do I get my kid to do organizational work of running a business without sounding like I'm nagging?
I love this question. Um, I also lack discipline to do the organization stuff in business. And I was about to say it hasn't stopped me, but it probably has held me back a bit. Um, yeah, what came up for you when you read that question? I think that's a brilliant question. There's so many, like you say, there's so many different directions.
I think there's two different bits. The bit that came to me was similar to you. It's not just young business owners that have those issues. I think, and it very much depends on the idea, the person, but like from a creative perspective, like a creative business owner is also not going to really enjoy the organizational style of the business and doing the tax and doing filling in the Excel forms and doing all that stuff. They want to create. It doesn't necessarily matter how old they are. Someone stop doing the shifty eyes. um, but so I think it's an age old problem, and I think there's a few different alternative routes depending on this where you are at in your business. Like some of it could be if you're really in the early stages, there's less to do, which is good. But also it's something that you have to force yourself to do, and there are different kind of motivational ways you can pull yourself into it. You could also in your network make friends. You can barter your skills. I'll help you with this creative bit if you can help me with this organizational bit that you're good at, and we can trade the skills that way. And then equally, as your business grows, you can find people that enjoy that are good at that's their skill, that they can come in and make that. But that is so many steps in the future. You need to be able to do the thing, make the money, make the sale, grow the business to get to that point. A lot of people try and jump there straight away and spend money on freelancers or even members of staff when they're potentially not ready for it just because they don't want to fill out an Excel spreadsheet. And I get it.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff in there, Jack. You triggered lots of thoughts. Um, I mean, breaking news: children lacking the discipline. It's really interesting because my eldest, as you know, is ridiculously entrepreneurial. But I wouldn't say he's an entrepreneur. And I think
Mm.
that's an interesting distinction. At the risk of going against the message, maybe entrepreneurship isn't for that child. And that's part of it. And I think that distinction, I can be entrepreneurial, but being an entrepreneur is a different ball game. And if I think about the word entrepreneur and who we associate with who entrepreneurs are and what they have a particular talent for an aspect of business, and they're expert organizers and relentless at getting things done. So it might be that that child is an absolute genius entrepreneur because they've already figured out how to get their parents to do the stuff that they don't want to do. And and actually go with that. If that child, if that young person, whoever it is, adult, if they've got a particular skill for doing something, let's we need to break down what entrepreneur means. What is it that you want to give them an experience of? Because there's so many different aspects of it. Is it creating an idea out of nothing? Is it selling? In which case, unfortunately, you're going to need to get involved if that's what it is. But sometimes, just letting them feel the pain of it not happening. I can remember my youngest, he announced that he wanted to be an entrepreneur when he was about 4.
Nice work.
And yeah, he said that he wanted a shop because we were playing shops at home and he decided he wanted his own shop and couldn't understand that I didn't to just go down the high street and get him one because there were some shops that were empty. And I'm like, I just got a feeling I think I know who's going to be doing all the work. And I'm not sure retail was my dream. But I think, yeah, I think just to sort of, there's no hard and fast rule to this one, is there? But my rule of thumb is maybe entrepreneurship isn't for them at this stage. Maybe
Hmm.
let the be that space so that they feel the pain of their ideas not becoming real, so that they have to do stuff, and also encourage them and say, well, look, because to me the most successful entrepreneurs build teams around them, and I never understood that in the early days. Like I used to put my pants on the outside of my trousers, still do sometimes actually, Jack,
Good
but
for you.
mostly just Fridays now. Wait, it's Friday. um, and they think they've got to be everything to all
Yeah.
people, and they don't.
And
And actually, just do the stuff that you're good at, that you enjoy, and but you do have to go and find someone else to do the bits that you don't quickly.
Well,
How do you do
that's
that
it.
with
I think
money?
that would be that's where my head went to. Like that exact advice again is that's for all of us. That's not just for young people. It might not be for you at this stage. And I think that is to come back to the essence of this show, the benefit of a mini experiment, the benefit of a side hustle, the benefit of that creating a space to figure out where your strengths are. Is it for you? Is it not for you in a risk-free experimental creative environment? Like sometimes when people jump in with their 2 feet, that adds a lot of pressure, and sometimes that's needed pressure, and sometimes it's unnecessary. Um, One thing I do want to say is for those watching us live across our events, I'm aware that the course is actually about to start. So thank you so much for watching us. Please come and join us. We have an additional hour of content that we're about to dive into. You can join us in our Facebook group. You can watch the replay. Come and join us from about the half an hour mark, and we will continue to answer your questions. But thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy graduation day.
Jack,
Um,
what an expert host you are. It's
oh, look at me.
graduation day. Yes. Have an amazing day, everyone.
But in the meantime, we're gonna continue. There might be some rebels, and they might stay on slightly later, so we're not gonna shun them just yet. Um, but yeah, I think is there anything else you have on Cassandra's question before I hit you with the next one?
I've got like this. That's such a good question. I think to me, there are so many people in our audience that have got children, and how many times have you heard the sentence, "Oh, you should do this in schools because schools really need this." That's exactly what Cassandra's doing, which is
Yeah.
brilliant. Keep going, Cassandra. I think the thing that I keep coming back to is um, the percentage of people who are actually entrepreneurs that see themselves as entrepreneurs, and then you apply that to young people, like what percentage of them actually see themselves as entrepreneurs. We all know it's good for them, we all want that for them. We recognize that the labor market is changing so fast that the ability to make your own money is never been more important, and it's never been more possible than right now. I think the distinction I would make is this individual, are they showing signs of being an entrepreneur or not? And by that, I mean, are they an entrepreneur or are they someone that's going to experiment with business ideas and make their own money? To me, there's a distinction between the two. An entrepreneur is more likely to be someone that's taking risks. And many young people are just aren't ready for that. Actually, the best thing for them is to go and work in a small business so that they get FaceTime with the leader or the owner of that business
Mm.
whilst building their own side hustle. And, I think I don't know. I could talk about this topic for ages, Jack. And I
Absolutely. I know it's something that we have spoken about quite a lot over the years, and actually, my bit there, especially on the young entrepreneurs and young business owners and whatever age that is, I think it's yeah, to your point, let them explore and figure out what it means to them. And I think why that excites me, and speaking from my own personal experience, is the fact that nowadays teenagers feel like they can, or even know that they can start a business is so exciting. Whether it's for them or not, that's the exciting part of the journey. And I know that. So I studied TV and film media. That was what I studied. That's partly the reason why I came into the Rebel universe, but that's a story for another day. um, but I worked in that kind of heavily creative field, and as part of my course, I had to do work experience. And this was maybe just shy of 10 years ago now. But when it was work experience, to do work experience in TV and film, the only options I was given were traditional work. It was a temporary position here, a full-time thing here, a part-time thing doing editing. It was never even whispered that I could run my own editing thing on the side, get experience in the industry, work with people, learn what it's like to be a freelancer and a sole trader, like 90% of people in that industry are. Never even occurred to me. The only first inkling that I could even start my own business at any age was when I came kind of through Rebel and Pop Up in the early stages. So
yeah,
just the fact that it is an option and it's being discussed, whether it's
Yeah,
right for them or not. That's the important bit, I think,
it's
for
so
me.
important. And the fact that Cassandra's doing that work is brilliant.
Mm,
I think the other thing that you triggered, Jack, was, just thinking about this issue about motivation and not just for the young people that Cassandra's talking about from that parent, um, but also for us as adults experimenting with business ideas. Um, to me, the bigger the why, the less you have to motivate yourself
mm,
to do anything, right? So, for example, um, my eldest has got a TikTok thing rolling at the moment, as you know, and he's making at least what he was making in his day job a month, matching that and sometimes doing more from what he's doing on TikTok. And the thing that struck me was that for years we've talked about him making his own money, and he's hustled here and he's hustled there. But I don't have to have any conversations with him at all when it comes to this because he absolutely loves doing it. So,
mm,
so when you've hooked up a young person with something that absolutely lights them up, then you will find their capability and interest levels in all areas to make that possibility. It's raised. So when they see it as a barrier to them being able to continue doing what they're doing, then we'll step up and do it. And I think for me, I got excited about doing certain things in business. When I think about the business ideas that I'm playing with and exploring now, you don't have to motivate me to do anything. And I hate doing the organizational, accountancy
mm.
expenses and compliance. That bit I don't like at all. But if I can see that if I don't do that, it's going to stop me from doing the
That's
thing
it.
that really lights me up. So I think our objective for ourselves and for our children is to ask enough questions to help young people tap into what really lights them up, not what we want them to do. And sometimes it looks the same, but it's a subtle difference. And empowering them to take the action they need to take to go and do what's really in our heart. And I think, my son has got loads of skills when it comes to social media. I can see how he can make money, and it frustrates the hell out of me, the route that he's chosen. Why is he chosen that route? Because he loves it. That's it.
Wow. We could run a whole episode just on that, and one day we might. But we'll keep it moving at the moment. Cassandra, I hope that helped. Um, Simon, coming up, I have in the theme of mini experiment and keeping every single one of these episodes fresh, I have a brand new segment of the program coming up. But
Oh,
Marketing 101 is coming up after this next question.
Jack, you're such a
Oh,
tease.
oh. So
Marketing,
the
everyone.
so the final question I've got before we dive into that is from Sarah Jane in the support group as well. Um, and again, this is a question that we could run a whole episode on as well. And I think it's a question that is on many um, of our rebels' minds, regardless if they're just starting up now or they've been running for a couple of years. Sarah Jane asks, Simon, how do you stay optimistic in today's unstable economy with businesses closing around us?
Oh, what if I'm not optimistic?
It's a
I'm
Friday
just
morning. Yeah,
joking,
don't
Jack.
answer that question.
I'm always optimistic. I think that's a lovely question. In fact, I know that that question will be in the mind of more than one person at each of our events right now, right? So, how do you stay optimistic when there's businesses closing all around us? Jack, do you remember the pep talk that I put in Facebook in February, March 2020, wasn't it?
I watching it back, that in itself, that is optimism incarnate. I
Yeah,
think it
right.
was it was March 2020. It was when, let's say, it was all kicking off.
Yes.
And you said you put a message in the group, and I think it was still, I stand by the best thing we can do. But you said in a couple of weeks' time, things will all be back to normal. Fast
Okay,
forward.
so I got the timeline a little bit wrong. Potatoes,
Eh.
potatoes, Jack. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because of course, uh, whether I was right or wrong, I may have been slightly wrong on that one. Was that still the thing that people needed to hear?
Absolutely. It's why we're still here.
Well, I think that's the bit. Now, how many businesses closed? I mean, we were under a lot of pressure, and a lot of you watching will know we lost £250,000 in 2 hours, 2 days before lockdown one. And I got up the next day and went for a run at 5 in the morning. I feel so energized to deal with this challenge. Actually, I think I was in shock. Um, but fundamentally, Sarah Jane, other businesses closing is none of your business. Who knows why other businesses are closing? You could blame market conditions. Market conditions, if you were to blame market conditions, we shouldn't be here because we were an events company in 2020 and we went from having our worst ever year to immediately having our best ever year. So the fact that businesses are changing and closing, the fact that it's a very choppy market, the fact that it's unpredictable, yes, there are unfortunately going to be some casualties for that. And some of those casualties are famous brands and will continue to be famous brands. You know, Jack, one thing that binds you and me together is film. And my favorite brand from when I was younger was Blockbuster. Um, you know, that's closed. There's retail businesses closing left, right, and centre. What's happening at government level has put a huge impact on businesses with national insurance contributions. There will be more businesses that close in the retail and catering leisure sector because of some of these things that are happening. That's not me getting political. That's just how it is. Businesses are going to close. They're always going to close, and new opportunities are going to happen. They're going to reopen. So what our job is to do, because comparison is the thief of joy. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Don't worry about what the government's doing. Come back to what's in your heart. What excites you the most? What do you want to do? Because from that place, you can get creative and make the most of some of these opportunities that are happening. And in fact, if you look at the history of, pandemics, for example, most of you probably know this, it was reported in the news. There's always a bounce after a pandemic. Now, I mean, I don't know the data from where we're at currently because there's a bunch of other things that have happened that we know about, but actually come back to you, what excites you, what's on your mind, what's in your heart. Go do that. Because for most of us, and this is the fundamental reason why, for most of us, just a handful of customers can be a life-changing number,
Mm,
especially if you've launched your business using rebel methodology where you've not spent any money, you've used your customers' money to grow your business, you've bootstrapped everything. That means that you're flexible, you're nimble, and you don't have big overheads. So actually, the world can do whatever the hell it wants. 10 customers a month could change your life. So focus on what's in your heart, focus on what you can create, and tune out the noise of what's happening around you because it's none of your business. It's got nothing to do with you. It's sad. It's a shame. And our high streets are looking pretty desperate at the moment. But hey, behind that, there's more opportunities. There's so many opportunities at the moment that, I mean, we're just living, we can say businesses are closing, but how many businesses that we don't see are starting online right now? Because
mm.
you can build a business in 10 minutes now. You don't need bricks and mortar. So the businesses that you see closing probably got high overhead.
Whew. Well, that is a dose of optimism.
And that's even though I can barely talk, Jack. Do you like my voice, by the way?
That is optimistic.
Do you think I sound smouldering, Jack?
Sure, if it makes you feel good.
It does.
When you talk like that, sure. Otherwise, it's a little bit FM radio, but we'll get through it.
I've got a radio voice.
Facial radio. Moving on. Uh, Simon, I'm really excited about this next section
I'm not.
because I know what it is and you
And I
don't know what it
don't.
is, and we're live on the internet. Um, as I was saying, so we'll come back to the questions shortly. I've seen the questions coming in the comments, and we will jump on some of those in a moment. But in the FEMA mini experiment, Simon and I were chatting, and we want to make sure that every episode we are trying something new. We are taking a step forward, whether it works, whether it doesn't. That's part of the fun of the mini experiment. And what I want to do, Simon, with you, I want to play a game. I want to have a game show. This is very exciting. So, what that means for us, unfortunately, I found our old live stream tech from the pandemic, benefits of being in the building, which means I've got a list of buttons in front of me here to make this bit quite interactive so you can play along and so can the ladies and gentlemen at home. So I can press a button here, which means in the top corner we can be on brand,
Oh,
or we can not be on brand, or we could be on brand. But that's very exciting. So let's play a game, Simon. You are our one and only contestant, but people can play along in the comments. And Simon, I know what you're thinking. What's the name of the game?
Jack, the one thing that's in my mind is what's the name of the game?
That's correct, Simon. The name of the game is called What's the Name of the Game? We have graphics, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry for the next 10 to 15 minutes, but I'm very excited. Welcome to the game called What's the Name of the Game? The aim of the name of the game, which is going to be increasingly harder to say, I have got a list of businesses in front of me with different names, some of my favorite business names that I have ever found. Some of them are real, some of them are not. The aim of What's the Name of the Game is for you to decide which ones I've made up and which ones are real businesses running right now. So I've
Right.
got six questions
I'm
coming
really
up,
nervous, Jack.
six businesses. I've got a tester one, so we'll do one tester just so you understand it.
Okay.
So, business number one, is this a real or is this a fake business? Perky Blenders. Is Perky Blenders a real or fake business? And a follow-up question for me and you, Sam. What could Perky Blenders do?
Okay, so I think this is a brilliant name. If it's not real, I'm going to be very upset. I think this is a real business, and I think they make smoothies.
They make smoothies. Very interesting. That actually, I feel like makes more sense. But Perky Blenders is a real business. People in the chat are also saying it's real. Perky Blenders is a coffee roasters based out of East London. They've had collaborations with Nescafe recently, I've seen as well.
Let's
That's
go
where
there.
I've noticed them. Yeah, Perky
Let's go
Blenders. The fact they're not based out of Birmingham is a missed opportunity, but we'll move on with that. So
there.
that's how the game is going to work, Simon.
I get it,
Uh,
Jack. I'm excited
some
now.
of them will be real, right? We'll dive in fully to the game. Here we go. Let's hope we don't get cancelled for the next 15. Question number one, is Prince Charming a real or a fake business, Simon? And what do you think Prince Charming would do?
Um, I think this is a real business, Jack, and I think there are printers.
Very interesting. We started off easy. Yes, of course, Prince Charming is real. Prince Charming is a real printing company based out of Fife in Scotland. All of these are
I
real
love that.
businesses
Have we
that you
been
can
there? We should
search
go
and
there. We
dive
went to
online.
Fife, didn't we?
We have been to Fife. I didn't get anything printed there, but it was a while
Why
ago.
not?
Well, I didn't know that Prince
Prince
Charming
Charming.
existed.
Love it.
Good stuff. Question number two, Simon.
I'm doing well, Jack. I've got 2 points.
Surprisingly good. I feel like I need to trick you. Uh, the Wolf of Small Treats. Is that a real or fake business? And what does the Wolf of Small Treats do?
Okay, so this is one of those. This is going to be one of those things that if it's not a real business, we have to start it. Look, I'm not really a dog person. It's probably alienated myself from about 70% of our audience now. But I would imagine that the Wolf of Small Treats, if it was a real business, and I'm not committing yet, Jack, because the stakes are high, I think this would be a dog treat business and it would be cool. However, because I know you, I think you've made this up. I don't think this is a real business. If it was one, it would be a dog treat company. This is not a real business.
The Wolf of Small Treats is not a real business,
Yes.
but you're right. It absolutely should be. My original thought when it came to this was actually a sweet shop. Um, Shelley in the comments have put, was I dressed as Little Red Riding Hood when I thought of this one? Um, I thought it could
Shelley,
have been a
tune
sweet
in
shop.
for next week's episode, next month's episode, when Jack does actually dress as Little Red Riding Hood for this segment of the show. Should it remain in the show?
But I love it. It should also be a pet food business. Um, but this one, yeah, it's hard to to come up with these and be like, is it real? Is it not? So you've got that one correct as well. The next one coming up, Simon. Sherlock Holmes. Is Sherlock Holmes a real or fake business?
I really want this one to not be real because it's so bad. Uh, which means it's real. I think this is a locksmith company, probably in Swindon, and I think Sherlock Holmes is a real thing.
Sherlock Holmes, please put your answers in the comments. People are playing along in the comments
I
as well.
love that they're
I'm
playing
so,
along.
so
That's
excited
brilliant.
by this. Um, Absolutely. Sherlock Holmes is, of course, a real business. It is a locksmiths based in Hastings
Hastings,
in the
okay.
UK. There he is there. What I love the most about Sherlock Holmes, and actually, this business was the inspiration for this entire game because Sherlock Holmes was the winner of Best Business Name 2024 with Simply Business, which is fantastic. I just love that he's got this award.
Right, Jack,
Well,
I want us to win that award.
yes.
And maybe the Wolf of Small Trees could be one of our contentions.
Is it? We've really gone off the deep end now. Oh
I
my
love that guy. What a genius.
God, he
Marketing
is
genius.
in his little van. I'm so excited. What do you think of my graphics, Simon?
Jack, I'm almost as excited as you.
I don't think that's possible. We've got a couple left, Simon, of this
Hit me,
game.
Jack.
You're doing very, very well so far. The next business coming up. We Will Rock Shoes. Is We Will Rock Shoes a real or a fake business?
Oh God, I hate you so much sometimes. Okay. Now this is probably the trickiest one. This is one that could go either way out of all of them, I think. I think this is not a real business. I think this is another Jack Aling rabbit out of a hat.
Someone in the comments has said, "Oh dear." Yes, that
Kerry
summarizes
Kerry
the
thinks
entire.
it's fake.
Of course, We Will Rock Shoes is not a real business, but it should be a shoe shop somewhere in Camden. Um,
Jack, do you know what's going to happen if this segment stays? And I hope it does because I'm enjoying it a little bit too much.
all right.
Um, we're going to end up having to start one of these things because whether it comes from, by the way, guys, stick your own ones in the comments. We would
Oh,
love to hear your
please,
business name
please.
ideas too, for two reasons. One, because I want to win that award for best business name. Two, I think it would be really funny to actually go and start a business based on some of the shenanigans that you get up to, or any ideas from our audience as well. So that's
Absolutely.
annoyingly genius and a total distraction from what we should be doing. Let's do it.
Uh, the hardest bit about this whole game was having to come up with them by myself. The fun of these conversations is we our wordplay games should definitely not be broadcast live on the internet, but are stuff of legend. But it's very hard when you don't have anyone to bounce off of. People are loving the game show. This is good stuff. I have two more for you, Simon, on this game show. The next business is Apocalypse Cow, a real or fake business?
Oh, it should absolutely be real. I would say this is a real business. Um, uh, it absolutely should be a real business, and it should
What?
be.
Yeah, what should Apocalypse Now be? Cow.
Okay, my head went originally to a good place, and now it's gone to a dark place.
Oh
So
no.
we may get cancelled as a result of what I'm about to say. Vegans and vegetarians, please look away. Apocalypse. That's right, Jack. Grandad's lost control of his face again. Apocalypse Cow. My head first went, wouldn't that be a really cool milkshake company, like a shake away kind of place,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, and then I went, oh well, if it's apocalypse cow, then it's more likely to be a butcher's. Um,
Well, I can put
Jack,
you
help
out
me
of
out.
I can put you out of your suspense, Simon. Apocalypse Cow is real,
I love
but
it.
it is neither of what you suggested. Apocalypse
Oh,
Now, of course, is a barbecue restaurant in Birmingham.
we should go there. That's close to
Apologies.
me.
Apologies to vegetarians tuning in this morning, but the pun was too good. You can go visit Apocalypse Cow. Simon, I have one more left of this game. I wish I had 50 more, but I
I
only
have mixed views and opinions about that, Jack. Please continue.
the final uh, real or fake business of this game is Ace of Shades, a real or fake business.
Ace of Shades. I think this is a real business, Jack.
What would Ace of Shades do?
Uh, it's either sunglasses or those things that we don't really need in the UK that you put in the windscreen so that the car doesn't cook. But they have them in America and other countries with sun. Ace of Shades. It's sunglasses or it's. Do you know what, Jack? I'm going to say it's not a real business. I think you've made it up.
Okay, very interesting turn of events at the end of the game there. Ace of Shades is both.
What?
And well, here's what I mean by that. Ace of Shades, I was very, very excited to create this in my own head. Ace of Shades, of course, was what I believe to be a fake sunglasses business. Put it all down, made the slides, put the graphics in. Then I went, I never Googled Ace of Shades. So I did Google Ace of Shades. It's not a sunglasses business, but it is a lampshade business running out of Brooklyn, New York.
Amazing.
So I'll give you points, and for those at home, you get points regardless of which one because it was created as a fake business. But of course, in 2025, of course, it's a real business.
What a time to be alive. I love how that is branding wise, that's the least Motorhead like brand that you could see. Antique, vintage inspired, handmade lampshades. I can just imagine Lemmy, and may he rest in peace, having one of these in his bedroom. Jack,
Uh,
I love your segment. Guys, please tell us in the comments, should this segment remain? It should remain just for the name of it because I can't even say it. Like I'm pretty impressed that you'd be able to say it 3 or 4 times. Should this segment remain? I think it should. Tell us in the comments. What do you reckon? By my calculations, Jack, and as you know, I am often not competitive, but when it comes to things like this, I am.
absolutely.
And by my calculations, I've got 415 points. So I
Fantastic.
think
Congratulations to the winners at home as well.
Kerry likes it. Shelley likes it. I think those are the only two voices
Very
winning.
interesting. Look at that. The perks of experimentation means that I go absolutely stir crazy coming up with puns at 9 p.m. at night, and then I get to put them on the internet. But
What's not to love?
thank you very much for humouring me. I'm so excited that this was also an experimentation for us to play around with more than just Zoom. We can do so much more. There's capable of it. This is just scratching the surface. So uh, stay tuned. Play your cards right kind of game, says Shelley. I love that. So I have no more puns, as upsetting as that is, but people have been leaving us comments, Simon, and their questions as well. So I want to jump into some of those.
Yeah, cool.
Let me have a look here. What's interesting, Lindsay commented during we were talking about storytelling earlier. She mentioned like, how do you go through your story to allow space? Like, what's the process? And I think actually what that opened up was the process that we take people through on the course of their story. Um, and we actually got a structure given to us by John Card, friend of Rebel. John Card is a Guardian journalist, so has written a somewhere between 100 and a billion articles over the years, somewhere around there. I'll ask him for the exact number.
And counting.
but what he gave us was this fantastic structure on how you can tell your story, regardless of what that looks like. And then what that means, it not only tells it in a compelling way, but that you can then take that structure and apply it to um, whether it be press releases in John's standpoint, you could use it as website copy, you could use it as social copy, but essentially it helps just to kind of figure out how you can where you can find the power in it in the terms of your business. Because some people's stories they could tell them in 30 seconds. Some people's stories you settle down for a 2.5 hour biopic for better or for worse. And I think it's if there's power in the structure of it. And I know we take people through that in the course a fair bit, Simon.
Yeah, I think like I remember just to build on what you've just said. I remember John having a conversation with John about this, and he even simplified it further from what we do currently on the course. And he basically said, as a journalist, I want to know what you were doing before, what happened, and what are you doing now?
Mm.
So if you break that down, life was normal. I was working for his company, and everything was going fine. And then I got made redundant, and then I had a major life event that happened, and then there'd be some narrative around that. And then what it meant for me was that I really, at this point in my life, decided to follow my heart, and and there'll be some narrative around why you've chosen the business idea that you've chosen. But essentially, it breaks down to three stages. What was happening before? What was the turning point, the catalyst? What was the event or series of events that happened, and then which led you to do what, and then what is it that you're doing now? That's to me is a really straightforward story arc, and that's a great place to begin. If you want to get good at, sort of telling that story, writing it down, saying it out loud, editing it, because when you say it out loud, it always sounds different. Editing it down from there, and then the more that you experiment with it, and it is a bit of a labor of love, but that process, don't skip the process of writing it down, saying it out loud, editing it, saying it out loud again, saying it in front of an audience after the next edit. An audience could be the cat, by the way, or it could be, friends, family. That's one of the wonderful thing about our Rebel courses, by the way, open invitation to anybody. If you want to come and practice storytelling, get in touch with the team, come and join us at an event, come and tell your story. We love stories more than anything. We want to hear what your stories are, because every single person watching this has got a unique and interesting perspective on life, on business, and what you're currently having a go at doing. So we want to hear those stories. But that would be my thoughts on how to improve it. And then once you've got it to a point where it's nice and succinct, then you can start sprinkling the pixie dust over it and start
Yes.
using devices like suspense, or humor, or surprise, or using different language to describe the characters in the story, or and emotion is a good one. Like one of the best things I think about listening to a storyteller, watching a storyteller, is when their facial expressions and their body language match the emotions that they were experiencing at the time. It just really draws you into the story. So there's lots of devices available to you to make your story really compelling.
I think that's people pay attention and they remember stories. I think if I was to tell someone what Rebel does on a day to day, like in terms of like what we sell and what we run, like that's one thing. But if I was to tell them the story of where we came from, why we are what we are, why we are what we do, um, that stays with people. And I was in the room in Camden yesterday when we were running motivation and storytelling and stuff like that, and we weave these stories throughout every single thing we do, especially within the course, regardless of the day, because people will remember and learn lessons from stories. We could just tell them the information, but if we tell them a story about something that happened to us, for better or for worse, something that's happened to a past participant, what they learned from it, rather than go, they'll learn, they'll take away what they need to take away, but they'll go, oh, remember when Simon told us a story about when he did this. That's what they remember, and I think the power in how you present that and all of these tools to make it more impactful, more memorable will really, really stay with people. And I know that is true because when we are telling stories in the room, when participants were telling their stories yesterday, that is when the room is at its most still. That is when the room is at its most quiet and the most engaged over the entire 2 weeks. People are there to build their businesses, but when someone gets up to tell their life story, the pens go down, everyone leans forward in their chair slightly.
Yeah.
It's just magical when it goes well.
Do you remember our boy Wayne Jones up in Wrexham?
I
Do
do
you remember
well.
when he did his storytelling thing on the last day?
Unbelievable,
I don't think
unbelievable.
I'll ever forget that. And so Wayne Jones came to our Wrexham course. He started a charitable organization called Shoulder to Shoulder, and he's gone through a life-changing health event. And when he told his story about his experience and then why he's doing what he's doing, absolutely blew everyone away. And I think it comes back to that thing. And then my answer to the question about parents with young people who want business ideas to see the light of day, it comes back to the why. By telling your story, you can share your why and why are you doing this business? Why are you doing a business in the first place? But why this particular business? And my question would be, what's the emotion that you want people to experience when they hear your story? Like begin with the end in mind. What do
Mm.
I want people to think and feel and do differently as a result of what I'm about to say? Because that will guide you into which aspects of the story to tell and then how to tell it. Yeah.
So, and then you mentioned about Wayne there, like that is it's proof in the pudding. We run 40, 50 of these courses a year. That event we ran with Wayne was over a year ago, and I remember it. I don't remember everything about that event, but I remember that. I remember stories from years ago, specific participants that came with us told their stories. I can remember them. We stay in touch with them, and I think like that is if you want to stay with people, tell a good story.
Yeah. Very good. Storytelling for the win.
I told you we could do a whole podcast on this. Um, a practical question from the Camden group. Taryn, who is in the room, has asked: is it better to go up in price with your products and offer free delivery, or is it better to have a lower price and paid delivery? Now, I have my thoughts on this personally, but again, I think before we go into it, there is a who is your customer
Yeah. There's a
question
bit of that,
to go
isn't
along with
there?
this.
What are you selling? Who's the customer?
A
What's
little bit, yeah.
what's an expectation? What do your competitors do? What's your own personal emotion when you see a product for a certain price and then you have to pay on top for delivery, or when you see a high price and free delivery? I don't
Yeah.
know. I'd probably, depending on the product and what the sort of the done thing is in that sector, I'm a bit 50-50 on this one. I think I'd try an experiment.
Yeah, you know what, that is what people in the comments are saying. They're saying try both, see what gets a reaction. That is the magic of an A/B test. Is that if you don't know, you can guess, but the only person that can tell you is the audience, your
Yeah.
customer. I think what
What's
what
your
came to
thought?
what came to my mind, and I think like I immediately jumped to again my own personal experience within that, and I know that there's something magical about the word free. Um, because if I saw something that was um £20 with free delivery, there's something about that, like you kind of, especially if you're going to buy it, that's cool. But if it was £16 plus £4 delivery, I don't know. There's something in my head that just kind of goes like, I feel like I'm paying extra, and obviously that's me coming to it fresh, not realizing that the product is could be £20 anyway. So I think dependent on it comes back to your bit, but depending on what it is, I think there's power in free. It feels like the person's getting something extra with that. But equally, if what you are selling is perhaps something quite expensive, something that's big, bulky, practical, actually going like you're paying this much. That includes, it could be £50 delivery if it's something like a camera or an
Yeah.
expensive bit of tech. But actually, people would then find security in that. Now, I've got to pay a bit of extra for delivery, but I know I'm paying for delivery, and that means it's going to the best company that will handle it with care, that will do whatever. Like if I was ordering something like a new laptop um, from a site I wasn't entirely unsure of, for example, when it was free delivery, that's cool. But I also I want to make sure they're not just kind of bundling it in the post and it'll make to me in one piece. So there's different
Yeah.
answers, I think. But yeah, let your customers decide. That's
Yeah.
what I would
I
say.
think what Shelley said in the comments that everyone, people love a free something. I think that sort of
Exactly.
backs up what you're saying. I think a couple of other thoughts. One is that you could offer free delivery. Just to build on your point, free delivery is a basic delivery and it will arrive, in five
Mm,
to 10 working days or whatever the time frame is. But you can pay a bit extra. There's an upsell opportunity here where you could make a little bit of extra margin on delivery and they'll pay £5. £5 gets it there in 3 days, for example, if you're
yeah.
able to do that and deliver on that. So I quite like the options when it's not binary.
Yeah.
But a bit like you, I'm a bit of a no nonsense sort of customer. Like I don't like surprises. If I'm buying the thing for 20 quid, I want to pay 20 quid. I don't want to find out at the checkout that I've got to pay another £7 or £8 for delivery or
That
whatever.
when it's a surprise, that becomes a potentially a negative customer experience. If you set the expectations up front, this is how much this item will
Yeah,
cost all in, then at least the
yeah.
person can consciously make that decision. When they
It's not
think
very
it's A,
festive, is it?
yeah, when when they get to A and it becomes B right at the end, like I've done it before. Oh yeah, I want that, and then you get to the checkout and you go, it's more for delivery than it is for the product, and suddenly you're like, oh, I don't want that at all now, or at least it makes you think. And actually, slightly off topic, but it brought me into the mindset of um, over delivering on that, and I don't mean like physical delivery, although kind of. But for example, when like the excitement when you're ordering something and they tell you it will be with you within a week, and then it's in the post and it's with you in 2 days.
Yeah. High
That's
performing.
exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah.
And whether you do that as a marketing tactic, like partly it buys you the time anyway. Sometimes it will take a week to get to them, and that
Yeah.
point. But and I think on the opposite side of that, you feel the pain of that is when someone tells you it'll be there in 2 days, and then it takes a week to show up. Again, that becomes a negative experience. So I think if you can maybe combining those two ideas, there's a something in your over promising, but also if someone wants it there quicker, charge them for the premium, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And that you got also got that option of saying if you order before a certain date, then it's free delivery, like a little bit of extra urgency
Yeah.
just to tip the customer over the edge. Um, so cool. Good question from Taryn. Thanks,
Woo.
Taryn.
Kerry has asked if the comments will stop refreshing. If a company has dissolved, can you use their name to run your new business? She's toying with a new idea, but the name is currently used on Company's House, but the company was dissolved in 2011.
Yeah. I mean, I'd do a quick Google to see if it exists anywhere else, but um, Kerry, I think you're good to crack on. 2011's a long time ago.
Say that. I'm just looking through the comments, see if we've got any more coming through. I did see. There's a lot of comments that my Facebook is having a bit of a moment. I'm trying to get to the top there. Um, Jeff Smith, longtime friend of Rebel from Newport.
Herbie the Clown.
This is possibly my favorite question. I'm very happy. Before I go into this question, I'm very happy this week we haven't got too bogged down in biscuits and jam and cream and ice cream flavors and cough syrups. Although
Yet.
recommendations are there. Um, Jeff famously is Herbie the Clown, and has been running that over the past couple of years, in and out. He's asked possibly my favorite question of the week, which is, Simon, how do you attach emotion To a balloon dog.
You create a story for the balloon dog, Jack. That's exactly how you do it. Because the balloon dog isn't just a dog made out of a balloon. That balloon dog represents the hopes and dreams and business ambitions of Herbie the Clown. Now, Herbie the Clown from Newport has been clowning in South Wales for years. And I think he might, I mean, if we can just check the census records, like he might be one of the nicest people in Wales by quite a long stretch. So when I see a balloon dog, I see I see a man who has worked really hard for his family. He's got a passion and a love and a joy for bringing enjoyment to people, other people's lives and their parties and so on. And Herbie the Clown, Jeff, has a skill set with balloons that will blow your mind. That's how I would do it, Jack.
You've made people across the country cry at a balloon dog this morning, Simon. Oh, that's impressive work. I didn't expect that to happen today.
Yeah, if I was to
I love that.
tie a bow around that, like you see a balloon dog, I see the hopes and dreams of a businessman.
You're tying a oh my goodness. You I was gonna say you were tying a bow around a balloon dog. I was so focused on that.
No, you tie a balloon. Yeah, whatever the rest of that sentence
I
was.
got sideswiped by the actual mic drop. I think there's a theme to today's episode, Simon. That's quite exciting.
Is it balloons?
Sure, that's just a story you're telling yourself. But no, it's very exciting. So we've got about 10 minutes left of this. If you've got any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments as well. Um, but Simon, is there anything else that you've come over the past kind of month that you wanted to make sure we share with the audience as we begin to wrap this up, or have you just got more stories to tell us? I'm happy for either of them. But...
Well, I've got this story about a balloon dog.
Oh, not again.
And I've just been sketching out a little storyboard underneath
Oh
me here,
wow.
which I want you to pitch to Pixar because I think there's something in this, Jack.
Oh wow. I'm sure
Yeah, I think
Pixar are
like
already.
the things that are going through my mind at the moment, Jack, are number one, will there be an episode three?
Well, isn't that the question, Simon?
Which for discussion afterwards. I think the second thing that's going through my mind is um, I was listening to Alan, my business partner, Alan Donegan, the other founder of Rebel School, and the conversation with him often goes to people ask a question, whatever the question is, and then Alan says, blah, 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 take action. And then someone asks a completely different question of something totally unrelated, and he answers the question, and then he says, blah, 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 and then take action. So I think for me as a world champion, also Olympic team GB captain of the overthinking team.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I say I'm thinking. I literally can't help myself. Um, take action, and that would be my overriding message. Like I'm looking at all of the projects and things that I've got around me at the moment. I'm involved in a number of different things. We're in the process of developing the course further with the frame of the best business course in the world. Been working on that for a few months with Halima in the team and you, Jack, and some of the other team members, Katie, Laura, and and Yusuf. I'm really excited to push that over the line, but I've hesitated on a bunch of things. And sometimes it's right, you got to sit back, take stock, have a little kind of chew it over for a bit and see where it lands. But ultimately, nothing happens if you don't take action. So my thoughts for everybody watching this episode, the word action has absolutely nothing to do with anything that we've talked about, apart from the fact that you took action to get that little box of tricks working. And I'm very excited about the new segment. So the action that I want you to take, Jack, is I want you to get me one of those boxes.
Yeah.
Because if there was to be an episode three, there might be a bit of another segment that you might not have any sight of. That's my challenge to you. Take action,
Oh,
everybody, and make Jack buy one of those box of tricks. That's my final thought.
brilliant. Oh my goodness. No, I love that. I wanna give a shout out on this episode as like I said, this whole thing was a mini experiment, and you can't start that experiment without taking action. I want to give a shout out to Kerry, who is, I can see her in the comments and she's watching live, because shortly after our mini experiment last month, Kerry launched hers, which was
Love
very,
it.
very exciting, launching the next thing. So I want to just give a shout out and a congratulations to Kerry on that. Please keep us updated with how it's going. But that's it. I think if this random hour and a half of questions and wordplay and everything else in between can help people kind of build their own mini experiments, then we've done something right. And I think that makes me want to continue this in some shape or form. I want to continue to get feedback in the same way we want to get feedback on whether it's free delivery or not. We want to go like, is this the right thing? Do we still want to run it at this time? Do we still want it to look like this? We want to make sure that we are running the best show for the audience. Otherwise, you're going to get the best show for me and Simon, and no one really wants to see that.
I do.
Well,
Uh,
well, yeah. um,
Yeah, and in the spirit of that, Jack, I just check in on one of the comments that came in from Nadia that was watching. She said that I started my brand when I was 17. If I knew more about all the boring things I had to do to build my business, I'd have given up really quick. I made cheap mistakes and put all my creativity to take my brand where it is today. Now I feel mature to really commit. I think that to
that's great.
me really absolutely sums up if you've got young people around you thinking of starting businesses, fail fast, fail cheap, help them start the rebel way, choose the thing that like excites them the most and take action, run the experiment and see what happens. And who knows where it takes you.
Ooh, well, I think Simon, that wraps up episode 2 of our little mini experiment. This was
Jack, we
super,
did
super
it.
exciting. Um, so yeah, please stay tuned. We're going to start releasing clips of this show in the next month. So we're going to start taking bits of the questions from the past 2 episodes and putting them across our socials and our platforms. So please give them some love, share them around. In the next month of the world of Rebel, I know that although we are finishing 3 courses today, we are in Scotland next week. We are finally returning back to Scotland, running a course in Glasgow.
Awesome.
We are also going to Liverpool for what I believe is the very first time in for Rebel. We're running a course there at the Box Park as well, and we'll have quite a few online programs and masterclasses. I know there is a fantastic masterclass if you're watching this live coming up today with Douglas helping about telling stories on social media. And that'll be available to watch on Rebel Plus as a replay afterwards as well. But there is so much coming up in March. Simon, I have a funny feeling I will see you this time next month, the final Friday of the month for episode 3.
I think you might be right, Jack.
Okay. Let's take this offline, Simon, and we'll see what we can do.
Let's opportunize. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
watching this for us. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.